Myself Raj, welcome to Raj Online Trainings. In the series of Spring Framework and Spring Boot full course tutorial, in this video we are going to start off with one more and very important module of Spring Boot, that is Spring Data JPA module. Let us understand more on this. What is the use of going with this Spring Data JPA module? Before we go to this Spring Data JPA module, let us understand about JPA. So what is this JPA is? JPA stands for Java Persistence API. JPA stands for what? Java Persistence API. And Hibernate is an implementation of Hibernate is what? It's an implementation of JPA. And what JPA is going to provide is JPA provides specifications for persisting, reading, and managing data from Java objects to relational tables in the database. So what JPA is going to provide? It's going to provide the specifications for persisting, means inserting objects into the table, reading objects from the table, managing data of your Java objects to your relational databases in the databases. So these relational tables, we are going to map our Java object with the database table. Next, JPA specifies the set of rules. It's going to specify what? The set of rules and guidelines. It's going to provide the set of rules and guidelines for developing interfaces. It's going to provide the set of rules and guidelines for developing interfaces that follow the standards. JPA is a guideline to implement ORM. JPA is what? It's a guideline to implement the ORM. Then what is ORM? ORM stands for Object Relational Mapping. ORM stands for what? Object Relational Mapping. And what we are going to do in ORM? ORM is the process of persisting Java objects directly into a database table. What ORM is going to provide? It's going to provide the process of persisting Java objects. So what we do? We create a project class. We create object of a project class and we persist that object into a database table using the methods like persist or save. So directly we can make use of methods. And already we know Hibernate is an ORM framework. Hibernate is what? It's an ORM framework. Now, this is the introduction of JPA, the need of going with JPA. Then what is the need of going with the Spring Data JPA module? Let us understand. The need of going with the Spring Data JPA. If you remember in Spring JDBC module, let us suppose we have created one interface, student DAO. We have created one interface, student DAO, with the CRUD operation methods. We have taken what? CRUD operation methods. Then after creating this interface, we have created a class student DAO IMPL which implements student DAO. And in this student DAO IMPL we have to implement. Implement means overwrite override the CRUD operation methods. So whatever the methods present in interface student DAO, we are overriding all those methods. Now, if you take in Spring ORM module, we have taken, let us suppose if you are taking an interface like employee DAO, here in this we go with the CRUD operation methods. Then once we create interface, what we have done, we have created a class employee DAO IMPL. This is the implementation class for employee DAO, which implements employee DAO. And we have overridden the methods. That is, we have to implement or override the CRUD operation methods. Meaning, whenever we create an interface, we are creating implementation class mainly to override the methods. And here we are providing all the methods. Like that, in your project, if you are going with the 30 DAO interfaces, then we have to create 30 DAO implementation classes. We have to create what? 30 DAO implementation classes. So this only we call boilerplate code. This only we call it as what? Boilerplate code. So repetitive job. In all interfaces, we have to mention the CRUD operation methods, and in all implementation classes also we have to override all those CRUD operation methods. So this only we call repetitive job. This repetitive job we call it as boilerplate code. So in order to reduce this boilerplate code only, we make use of the module called as Spring Data JPA module. We go forward, Spring Data JPA module. This is very important module. Now, let us understand more on this. What is the Spring Data JPA module? Spring Data JPA is a module of Spring Framework. Spring Data JPA is what? It's a module of Spring Framework. Spring Data JPA is used to reduce. It is used to reduce the amount of boilerplate code. It is used for what? To reduce the amount of boilerplate code required to implement data access layer. So mainly the need of going with Spring Data JPA is to reduce the amount of boilerplate code required to implement your data access layer. The main need of going with Spring Data JPA is Spring Data JPA is used to develop persistence layer in the application. It's for what? To develop the persistence layer. Means whatever the data we are having in our application, to persist that data in our database table. For that we make use of this Spring Data JPA. Then what Spring Data JPA is going to do is, Spring Data JPA provides predefined methods. It's going to provide the predefined methods to perform CRUD operations. It's going to provide what? Predefined methods in order to perform CRUD operations on database tables. Here, Spring Data JPA provides the repository interfaces. Spring Data JPA provides two repository interfaces. They are CRUD repository and one more JPA repository. CRUD repository and JPA repository. This JPA repository, it is going to have CRUD repository it's going to have the features of code repository because JPA repository extends code repository, and it's going to even have the pagination. It's going to have the features like pagination methods, and it's going to even have sorting methods. So JPA repository provides what? It is extends code repository, means what are the features present in code repository that even we can use in JPA repository, and additionally it's going to have the pagination methods and sorting methods. And the implementation of these two interfaces is done by using proxy class. Very, very important interview question. The implementation of code repository and JPA repository is done by using proxy class. So very, very important entry question. So which class has implemented this code repository and JPA repository means you can say proxy class. Now let us understand how to make use of this code repository or JPA repository. Now let us suppose if you are having a entity class, if you are having one entity class like public class, let me take something like book, public class book, any class you can consider. So we are going with one entity class with private properties, private int book ID, then we'll say private string book name, then we'll say private double book price. Then we apply the Lombok annotations. So like @data. We go with the Lombok annotation @data. And to mark it as an entity class, we make use of this @entity. And this book ID, let us consider as primary key. How to make it as primary key? @ID. Now this entity class is ready with the applied annotations, Lombok annotations and JPA annotations like @entity, @ID. Now, once we create this entity class, in the previous modules like Spring JDBC or Spring ORM modules, we used to create one interface with the CRUD operation methods. Then we have to create one implementation class mainly to override the CRUD operation methods. But whereas in Spring Data JPA, what we do, we just create one repository interface. We create what? One repository interface like this. Interface, public interface. What is the name of the entity class? Book. So we'll say book repository. Just we have to say extends code repository. And what is our entity class name? Book. And what is the primary key data type? Integer. That's it. Your code is completed. Just we have to create interface book repository, extends code repository, or you can even say JPA repository. Provide the entity class name and the primary key data type. Just open and close curly brace. No need to write any methods inside this interface. No need to create any implementation class for this interface. And above this interface, we can make use of the annotation @repository. Just to make use of annotation @repository, that too optional. Now, that too what? Optional. Then, what methods your code repository is going to provide? Let us understand. repository methods to perform code operations. So these all methods are provided by Spring Data JPA. So what methods it has provided is, we can go with save, and we have to pass the entity object. We have to give entity object. So this save method is going to insert this object into the table. We are having one more, save all, where we provide iterable entity. So here we provide the list of object, iterable object. So this is going to insert multiple entity objects into the database table. So the list of entity objects, it's going to persist into the table. And these two methods, save and save all methods are called as upset methods. Upset methods, meaning upset means it is going to do update operation and insert operation. UP means update, SCRT means insert. So these two methods are considered as upset methods, meaning these two methods will do insert operation and even update operation. So whatever the entity object you are providing to this save or save all method, if the entity object primary key is a new primary key, it is going to do insert operation. If the primary key is an existing primary key value, it's going to do update operation. The remaining methods are find by ID. If you provide the ID, it's going to return the object. It's going to return the record from the table into an object. Then find all by ID. Here we provide multiple IDs, iterable IDs. So when you want to get multiple records based on your primary key, we go for find all by ID. We are having one more, like find all, to return all the records from your table. We are having one more method, count method, to return the number of records present in your database table. Then exist by ID, to check whether we are having a record based on your primary key. So based on your primary key, to check whether that particular record is existing in your database table. The next method, delete by ID. Delete the record based on your primary key. Delete the record based on your primary key. Then delete all by ID. Delete multiple records. Delete multiple records based on your primary keys. Multiple primary keys. Delete by ID is only one single primary key. Delete all by ID, where we provide multiple primary keys to delete the records based on your primary keys. And one more method, delete all. This method is going to delete all the records from your database table. So these are all very, very important methods to perform your CRUD operations. These all methods are provided by Spring Data JPA. Directly, we are going to make use of all these methods. This Spring Data JPA module is very, very important. You need to practice this compulsory. In the next session, we'll see the complete example application on this Spring Data JPA module. And initially we go with code repository. After going with some examples on code repository, then we go with JPA repository. In the next session, we'll see the complete example on this Spring Data JPA module. Before seeing the next video, you need to recap this video in order to understand the next session. Please subscribe, like and share. Thank you.